It is a Tuesday, so you know what that means. We are joined in the first couple segments by Basil Chapman. Basil Chapman is the author of the Opening Call newsletter. He has been on the ball updating this as the markets start to turn or go to the upside. And of course, he is in the den as well. Strongly recommend checking out the Opening Call newsletter. You can do so risk-free, of course. We have a 30-day money-back guarantee for all first-time subscribers. So, you don't have to worry if for whatever reason it doesn't work out. I'm betting that it will. I read Opening Call every morning, and it helps me out immensely. Basil, how you doing?
Hi, Jacob. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Not so much action maybe this week, at least in volume, but I'm interested to see kind of what your comments are, at least in the moves on the chart.
So let me just review. So we had the DXD, which is 2 times short the Dow. It ran up to a peak F and then turned down, so we had really good profits and we got out of that. SPXS was the one that's 3 times short the S&P. We were in at 580 and we're getting out all the way to the 1014 area. The high was 1067. And then early we actually did buy the exact day of the Dow, just got stopped out, and we got back in last week. So that we're looking at, there are a couple of indicators. Let me just show you here. So this is something I always use. It doesn't always work, but if you learn the patterns at a certain point, it really helps a lot. So you'll see these vertical lines happen to coincide. This is the on-balance volume. This is the late Joe Granville's concept. I think in the end, I think he did see it computerized, but he used to do it all by hand. Years ago, he used to do it by hand. What you do is you add up if it's an up session, you add it to the total. If it's a down session, you subtract it. It's as simple as that. But once it looks as a chart, when you've got it, it's just much easier to see. So I wanted to show you that this low that was made, that was on the 7th in the Dow, coincided with the on-balance volume just making a little V-shaped turnaround. And in the other technique that I use, which is something that I developed a long time ago called the Chapman Wave Dark News Index. Basically, this used to look at the interest rates that were kind of very important. They created the tops for a long time, couple of years. But the most recent one, it actually was really in December, then again in January, said that I talk about internal high and residual high. It's like an earthquake and an aftershock, which can be much less than the earthquake, could be greater than the earthquake, could be the same. So I looked at that as an internal high and a residual high, and we started to come down. And I then said, this looks to me like an internal low, having held this very long-term Chapman Wave inside track little mini channel support, and then it ran up on the 13th of January, and then it turned around. But I called that a residual low on the 36,611 on the 7th, and we can go from there and we'll see what's going on.
Perfect. Well, Basil, can you stay right there?
I can.
Folks, stay right there. We'll be right back with Basil Chapman after the break. Welcome back, everybody. This is Jacob Shoup. You're watching the Tom O'Brien Show, joined right now by Basil Chapman. We have the SPY trading up, flipping green, up 0.01%, composite up 0.08%, flipping green as well, and the Dow improving. Basil, before we went to the break, we're looking at this dark news index regarding movement in the Dow.
So, yes. So now what we've seen is a really strong rally. In fact, if you didn't know about tariffs and all, first of all, I think that the tariffs exacerbated the move to the downside. Yeah. This area here should have been the 40,100 should have been really important support, thinking that from November, December, we've been talking about the overbought condition in the tech sector, that they should need to come down. When they come down, we'll see other sectors start to rally. So that to me was an aberration. And now we're going to see something very important. Why? Because I look at double tops. Look at this double top in the Dow in the weekly chart. 45,073 back in 2024, and then just a couple of months later, 45,054. Just misses it, pulls back. Look at the S&P. Actually, you were talking about the SPY. Let's just go to the SPY. Look at this, the SPY. If I can type it in the right place, right there. Yeah, the SPY made a high of 61.13, but look at all these highs that were made, this triple top. So I look at that and I think, okay, take it seriously, because you can have a pretty serious pullback. Well, the Dow went by a fraction today to the 40,791 level, which is just 20 points off the last high 5 sessions ago. So I'm watching this very closely. Why? Because the 9-period moving average is still under the 14. It's got a long way to go to turn green, and we'll probably see the Dow 41,500 will start to see something improve quite a great deal, but that's what we're waiting for. But the MACD has turned up. Stochastic's still weak, but it's rallying. So to start off with, I think that this is a very important week just in terms of I want to see where we close Friday. I'd love for the Dow to close. I don't care what happens in between, but on a close, actually, I should say even intraday, somehow or other, if we can get to the 41,350, 41,400 area, I think that's going to be very important just in terms of my work. Then the other thing is, I mentioned to you that there are two, and I'll go through this again in my show, the Tiger Technicians Hour tomorrow. I look at this, and I'm showing you here the pink is the XLF financials. This is a monthly chart. The blue is the S&P, and we had an exact move from the low that was made in 2020 to the high that was made in 2022, and then a pullback, and then an exact move, almost to the penny in the financials, going to the recent high, and the move down over there from 2022 into late 2022 matches exactly where we were on the low just recently. Now you've had a pretty good rally, and I think that's the reason why I'm saying this is different to any other consolidation in the market that we've had, because I just don't see crash material here, because you've got so many areas that have been rallying very strongly. So I look at this and I say, there could be a choppy phase going for quite a while, but at the same time, if you're just looking at the charts, there's been some really positive action. So it's important that the financials, and Bank of America came out with good earnings today. It's up $1.43. We've been in for a long time. We're still long Bank of America, taking quite a bit of profits, but we still have a core position at the lows. So this to me is very important. If the financials were tanking right now, I'd say, this is your normal big move to the 22%, 25% to the downside. At this particular point, I think that we have something, there's a saving grace. I mean, if you look at a Johnson & Johnson, this is the defensive area. Look, it's not great, but it's holding well.
Totally.
And these would be tanking as well. So it seems to me that you've got to be very stock specific, and we've tried to do that. We've managed to keep all our core long positions, even though we've taken some good profits from them. But most importantly, look, we're still in the gold. We have the PHYS, that's the physical gold, which matches exactly the price of gold. Gold is just for 2 sessions now. It hasn't, isn't that unusual? It hasn't made an all-time high, but look where it is. It's holding very nicely, and the technicals are still very strong in the daily, the weekly, and the monthly. And what's interesting also is that Bitcoin, which could have suffered quite heavily here. Definitely. Yes, it's come down from 110,900 down to the 74,000 level. It's right now at 84,000. But we are still long. This we've been long for quite some time, since about September of last year. So I think that you've got to be very specific in what you're looking at. And there are areas that I've been following very closely over the last week. And I think we have a chance that if you can get into certain stocks that have not tanked with the market and are holding very well, they're telling you that they are survivors in this particular phase. And that's what we're trying to do. It's to go for the stocks that have held well, and that independent of even other stocks in that area are doing their own thing. And that's a real challenge, but I like that kind of challenge, and that's what we're focused on right now.
Absolutely. No, and to that Bitcoin point, I mean, I've been thoroughly impressed with Bitcoin. I mean, you're right back now just to around that kind of Trump bump, and it's held at 80K. I mean, yeah, of course, it's dipped below it for a few days.
Yes.
But I mean, it has rebounded right there. I mean, there's strong resistance at support at 80K. And then even Palantir, right? I mean, even before what we had on April 7th, that major sell-off, I mean, the thing, as everything was cratering back down, right, to November levels, this thing has held substantially well. I'm looking at a yearly and a day on the day. I mean, it has that really strong 80 support as well, you know, and good news. Yeah.
And it's in an area that could be beneficial.
Big time.
And I'd even say specifically to Palantir. Maybe not some of the others, but to Palantir. So you can see right here, it's just bumping to this resistance. It's at 98.5, and I think that it is in leg B. And I suspect that if this can get to, as soon as it touches 100, I think that it's going to start to move even sharper. So yes, I agree with you. So it's, as I say, stock specific. You don't have to. We're not overbuying. We're not putting a huge amount of work. We've built up a huge cash position. We're starting to put it to work. But I also say, let the market tell us at this particular point. As I say, if I have just a moment, I'll show you something very interesting. Let me get to it here. Is that the chart? Yes, this is the chart. Look at this chart right here. Looking at it just purely with the techniques that I use, this is the 914. When it goes green, it's positive. When it goes pink, it's negative. When it goes, and here's the MACD and stochastic. But look at this. Here's the Dow. It hasn't been able to go, the pink line hasn't gone positive to green. So I've got to have a little patience. And then the resistance will be at the 200-period moving average of 41,800. So I think it's really important to treat the market with respect. Anything can be said at any moment. You've got to be aware of that. But here's the stochastic in the just cross positive. The MACD's cross positive. The stochastics improved a little bit in the S&P, but that 9 is refusing to turn green. When it does, that's going to be very important, and it goes for each one of these. Look, here's the QQQ. That's the NDX 100. A little bit better in a way, but still pink. And here's the IWM. So it's very important. Look, IWM isn't doing, and as we finish, I'll just show you the SMH. It's really important. The SMH semis move, and they are just stuck. So I want to see a good 3 to 4% move in the next 3 to 5 sessions in the market. That'll say to me, that's important. That's a very good sign.
Basil, thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 for the Tiger Technicians Hour.
Thank you very much, Jacob. Have a good evening.
Check out the opening call. We'll be right back.